There we go. What's up? We're live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode, exciting episode, breaking news of the trademark. We've got Johnny Wenzel joining us today. And Johnny, before we get started, I got to know, can you please tell us of a time when you got secondhand embarrassment for someone?
When I was embarrassed for someone else?
Yeah, like you were out in public and you saw someone like walk into a door, something super embarrassing.
Oh man, I feel like I have a lot of examples, and I'm thinking of my wife, who's a little bit, can be clumsy, but I don't think she'd want to share that example. Yeah, okay. So one time I was in Detroit biking and very much saw someone just peeing on the side of a house. Very uncomfortable experience. And then they looked at me and I looked at them and we locked eyes. And it was the most uncomfortable 1 second of my life. And then we very much looked away like nothing was happening. So that one, very embarrassing for both of us in that case.
Oh gosh, firsthand and secondhand embarrassment. It's rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, we are excited. We're going to be digging into some stuff about Google today, all the changes around Google, good, bad, ugly. So let's go ahead and dig in.
Step into the Trademark, your go-to podcast for everything marketing in the trades. Hosted by award-winning industry marketing experts Sarah Gerardo from Remarkable and Eric Thomas from Rival Digital. Together, we're here to unite the worlds of trades and marketing, bringing you insights, stories, and strategies from the heart of the industry. Whether you're a trade professional, a marketing expert, or somewhere in between, this is the place for you. Listen in as we're here for the big ideas, the game changers, and the everyday successes. Because at the Trademark, we're with the trades and for the trades.
What up, Sarah? How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How's it going, Johnny? Thank you for joining us last minute.
Yeah, no, I've been preparing for this for months and took notes and I'm ready to go.
Good. I mean, we've been talking about the Google changes for over a year now. And I'm always astonished when we're in a room and we're talking about SGE and all of the new changes and people look at us like this is the first time they've heard it. I'm like, but I talked about it for a year.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually, you actually sent me on this, Sarah, to one of Tommy Mello's podcast to talk about GPT and all of that. And the person I was with said, most people don't know what it is. Like they are not familiar with ChatGPT. We were in an Uber at the time and asked the Uber driver, like, hey, have you heard of ChatGPT? Person said, no. We went to Red Robin, actually, believe it or not, asked the waitress, have you heard of ChatGPT? And they said, like, what's that? So like most people are actually, despite the hype, I think, you know, as marketers in this space, we obviously are all over it. And advocates like yourselves have been pushing in the trades.
I don't think marketers are all over SGE and in AI. It's like, you know, we should be. And the ones that are innovative and ready for the next thing and paying attention are, but not every marketer is on the same level as well. So, you know, what you don't know, you don't know. But it scares me what they don't know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's been encouraging to see how the trades have been embracing this. A lot of people in the trades, and I feel like advocates of it, like yourself and others in the space, are really pushing for the trades to use it to improve their operations, their marketing, really, you know, anything they can. And I've seen some very creative applications of just generative AI in general. But now it's, you know, to the point of Google's making changes. It's changing so rapidly. So how do we stay on top of it?
Yeah. How do we stay on top of it, Johnny? Like what's your take on this?
Yeah. So it's a simple answer, but following certain newsletters really helps. I know that, Sarah, you often send me links to newsletters. Look at this is happening. So Search Engine Land is a really good one, specifically for SEO and PPC, just understanding the changes and the leaks and whatever's happening. I tend to just pick one or two that you like. Find if you have too many, you'll get overwhelmed, and it's usually less is more in this case. So I almost exclusively just look at whatever Search Engine Land is saying. I also subscribe to like an AI newsletter as well that talks about the latest advancements in usually different GPT applications.
Yeah. And so what have you been seeing? And Eric, what have you been seeing? Because you get to look at people's sites on the back end. So I guess first we should explain like what Google Generative AI has done or what they've done with SGE and in search in general. So Johnny, you're really good at explaining things because I sent you articles, so you read a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny, let's delve into this.
Delve. Yeah. So I guess like going right to the very beginning of like SGE stands for, I don't even know. Is it search generative experience? Is that it? Maybe it's like generating, or there's a few more or less the search generative experience. And it all has to do with ChatGPT. Should I like give it a basic on what ChatGPT even is? Let's go like all the way back.
Go all the way. Let's go all the way basic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was gonna, jokingly do a technical explanation of neural nodes and the technology behind it. That never goes well. What does go well is ChatGPT. What it is you more or less put in a prompt. It's what it's called, a question, a task. You ask it to do something and it spits it out. And kind of a good analogy for it is it's similar to autocomplete. So think if you're typing an email or sending a text message. Text message is a better example. You're typing it and then it will have usually 3 different words that you can pick as the next word that it is predicting you should be using next. Or with an email, it'll, in the gray text, it'll say, this is, how you could finish this sentence. And so that's autocomplete. It is looking at your past behavior and using that to try and predict what comes next. ChatGPT is that on like steroids, supercomputer. Instead of just looking at your history, it's the history of every word digitally documented, like in the history of human existence. So tons of data that has really kind of fed this digital brain that allows it to predict really well what's supposed to come next. And so it's not just how to finish this email, but a lot more advanced, like what comes next when planning a complete marketing strategy. And even, more advanced now is video and image generation. It's just taking a prompt and kind of predicting almost pixel by pixel what should come next based off of how every picture in human history that's online has done something similar. So it's incredibly impressive how it works. But as far as you need to understand it, you put in a request and with a pretty high degree of accuracy, it gives you an answer that's more or less acts like a brain that has analyzed all the data of human history and is predicting the right thing to say back to you.
And what are they doing with it in search?
Yeah. So what they're doing with it in search specifically, search meaning like the Google page. So you go into Google and you search. Historically, it's always, Google's been more like a catalog of websites. So there's a list of all of the websites that relate to the keyword that was used in the search. What Google has done, and they've done it in response to ChatGPT, which is OpenAI, which is owned by Microsoft. So Microsoft's kind of really been pushing this, a reversal of how things have gone the last decade or two, at least from the online search perspective, is they're pioneering this, whereas Google is now kind of playing catch up all along the way. And it's exactly that. It's providing the Chat GPT response above the search results. So really, when you are now Google searching, it is generating the predicted response rather than just showing you all the websites that could answer this response. Maybe we should show an example.
Yeah.
That's what I was pulling up. All right. I just searched.
You're pulling up. Go for it, Eric.
Yeah. I just searched, air conditioner not cooling. And so, yeah, it pulled what I assume is probably like an aggregated list of stuff based on the average of, the same content, similar content they found across the web. But it also, I think something that a lot of people are wondering, Johnny, is like how this all works. So like you get the AI overview and I search air conditioner not cooling. And it's like the air conditioner is on, but not cooling. It could be a number of reasons, including 7 common reasons. And then right underneath of it is an article to this site. So I just wondered, like, obviously this is the source, but why not mention that?
Yeah. So that is the difference between Google and how OpenAI or ChatGPT historically has gone, is especially the early versions of ChatGPT, it was always sort of based off of historical information. It wasn't searching in real time. And so it was, if you asked it anything from like the last year, current events, it wouldn't know it. Google, being, the search engine of all search engines, is launching with more of a search focus that is layered onto and integrated with their product. So specifically, rather than just only looking at the history of everything that's ever been written, they're doing that, but also giving some preference to the things that were ranking highly for them that they thought had a high ability to answer that question. And then they're referencing that and almost citing it there at the bottom. So it's the Google experience is a lot more about live search layered in with it, as opposed to how ChatGPT has gone. Now, the new model, the 4.0 model, seems like it actually has search capabilities and it is doing a lot more live search with these things. But that's what's going on, is it's looking at every word ever written and then also looking at the Google search results for that and coming up with the best answer and citing its sources there at the bottom in that carousel.
But then if you scroll down, look at the mess that they created. So if you're a consumer, you're like a normal human being and you're looking at Google and you're like, oh, air conditioner not cooling. And that could be a search, right? They more than likely to be like, my AC is not blowing cool air, or AC not cold. But they give you all of these diagnoses. As a consumer, how confused would you'd have to, like, they want you to DIY almost, but there's 15 more. Look, go back, Eric.
Up or down?
Up.
I see. Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Dirty air compressor. It's
Right?
like screaming at you.
Like Google, God, like Google's intent in the beginning was to provide a relevant search within a very fast time frame with authority that's great content that can really make a conversion happen faster at the speed of search. But they've slowed down. I wonder what the speed time is first, but they've slowed down the conversion with content. And so they're confusing the consumer. Because if I was a consumer, I'd be like, well, so everything could be wrong? Where do I even start with that? Obviously it's pop your air filter, but I mean, seriously, you've just like made something relevant irrelevant because it's not relevant to, like, I don't know. And people believe Google so much. They believe it as the source of truth, which is insane to me. But that's because I'm a marketer and I know that I input things into search. But Google is just not the source of truth. Like, in car AC, so that's irrelevant as well. Well, it could be based on the keyword and but
they've created a huge mess. And like we were talking about before the show, Sarah, like all of these drop downs, they're giving you 4 articles, and all of these articles, I'm looking at it. I know for a fact that Lead Company is not here in Virginia Beach. Cool Ray is not in Virginia Beach. FloridaSpace.gov, that's not in Virginia Beach. Carrier could be one of the relevant ones, I'd say. Hoffman Brothers, they're not here in Virginia. So, I mean, like these websites are going to provide us with the answers that helped aggregate this response or this, this output on Google search. But like you were saying, if I'm searching, and that was always like the beautiful thing about Google was like, I would search where I'm at right now, like mosquitoes are, in my backyard, or tree fell over. instead of it being like, here's 6 reasons why your tree might have fallen over, it would have been like, here's 6 tree care companies. And so like you're not getting that much, you know. Of course, you search near me or nearby, you'll probably get it. But
yeah, but Google has proximity in there, right? Well, it
Yeah.
should have proximity. And in the search labs, when, you know, it was first, when they were testing it, it was working on building the proximity into that search. But I'm going to send Ryan Redding a link too. But now it just seems convoluted with ranking content that may have authority, but it doesn't have, like, yes, I want my blog to be known everywhere, but I don't, like, the clicks and the impressions matter, but the conversions matter more for a small business, right? If I'm showing up in, you know, Timbuktu because someone's saying AC not cooling, but I'm in California, like, how does this help my small business?
Let's check this out. So, all right. So Miller's, that's actually a client of mine. They're in Chesapeake, Virginia. They do service my city, but their blog showed up here, which I'm not saying that's indicative of my location. I think that's just because I know for a fact that we optimized this article for this query. I'm not going to click on it, but let me just do this. No, 1 hour. There's a page. I was wondering if Valvoline, love it. Their page is coming up, but I was wondering if they had that AI overview, if that would like help their chances in local search or like organic, but they were 4th for AC repair near me, which is not, you know.
Yeah, so
amazing.
it's not, so for questions, they're ranking, but for normal searches, they are still, their output is below.
Yeah.
Johnny, what would you say about this?
So I appeared distracted. I was looking up some recent quotes from Google's CEO about this. And here's a few things from a recent interview. He says, part of what I hope search serves to do is give a lot more context around that answer and allow people to explore it deeply. And then jumping around here, he got a bit of flack for this comment, but he says, I remain optimistic. Empirically, what we are seeing throughout the years, I think human curiosity is boundless. It's something we deeply understood in search. More than any other company, we will differentiate ourselves in our approach through this transition. And then this one, people are responding very positively to AI overviews. It's one of the most positive changes I've seen in search based on metrics, but people do jump off on it. And when you give context around it, they actually jump off it. It actually helps them understand, so they engage with the content underneath too. In fact, if you put content and links within AI overviews, they get higher click-through rates than if you put it outside of AI overviews. So that is the claim from Sundar, CEO of Google, that, you know, it is making it more clickable. It's this idea that it's encouraging or feeding natural human curiosity to answer or to, like, you know, fully understand the question. The thing is, I think that is true in a lot of contexts and probably helps for, you know, something I could realistically do by myself. I could not fix my own air conditioner. You know, I'm a marketer. I'm not a tech. I had laser eye surgery last week. I'm not going to want to know how to do that. Or I honestly don't even want to know the nuances of how it works. Like, just get it done and help me see, right? Which I think there is some benefits here, but Google continues to be built for a general use case. And over, I think we see that trades often gets left behind as having very particular niche interests and use cases that Google isn't built specifically for.
What do you think, Ryan? Welcome to the show.
Hey,
You're like,
thanks for looping me in. This is awesome. Well, what's up, Johnny? What's up, Eric?
Hey.
So I'm probably more cynical. I saw this interview. I kind of think they're full of crap right now. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like they're trying so damn hard to push out tech in front of people, even though it's not fully baked yet. They know that that's where they have to go. They know that's where the trend is. Like, there's a lot of pressure for them to move. I don't think they're really as thoughtful as they're coming across. And I think the CEO of Alphabet has to publicly say, oh, this is what we're looking for. And he's a salesperson, right? He's trying to make stockholders happy. I haven't seen that sort of impact. And I think the scuttlebutt inside Google from the people who I know who are on the various teams, especially who are leveraging and implementing the AI components into search and the ads and various things, is that they're all just scrambling to meet really weird targets. Like there's no thoughtful master plan. They're not. And I think there's just a lot of external pressure to compete with OpenAI. Like OpenAI has obviously the partnership with Bing. They've got now this inked partnership with Apple. Like there's a big pressure with Google to get this crap together fast. So yeah, I'm with you, Johnny. I think that Google's trying to look at it like in a general use case, like, hey, if you need how do you make a cheeseburger or whatever, that's fine. But if we're going to take any sort of inference we have from like the knowledge panel where people would do a 0-click result, there's a lot of critique about Google, and those were announced because they were siphoning web traffic away from where that information came from. They're just feeding it to the user. It was helpful for the user on those sort of things, but it starved people of the traffic that they were depending on. I was just reading just 2 days ago, I'm trying to think, 2 days ago, where a site who predominantly provided like sports data, like high analytical sports data, and got a lot of traffic since this AI overview came out, all their traffic has been slashed by 90-something%, which if you are doing anything about publishing content, is like strangling you. Mm-hmm. So I'm very cynical right now, and we gotta be careful that my Google doesn't hear me. And but like it's just, I get why they're trying to do it, and I actually like the idea of what it could be like. That just feels like so far away right now. Like with the dream and the reality, just feels like very, very not in alignment. But that's just me.
I think like Johnny and I can speak from the product manager side point of managing and creating technology products, right? Google is a product and it has multiple products inside of it. And Johnny was just at Google last week. And I read somewhere on a post, they were like, well, all of you holding events at Google, is that really where you want to be aligned with? Yeah, it's Google, right? We want to be aligned with Google, but we want to be there asking the right questions. And we want to be there, like having the right conversation and being a part of, hey, we're a small business. We're seeing this impact. Like, tell me more, because you're controlling our business, right? We have a voice too. And I think that is where we go and we talk to Google and we ask questions. But I think the point of the matter is that from a product manager standpoint, we are given deadlines. We create the product, right? We're given deadlines. We roadmap everything out. But we have priority shift. And when that priority shift happens, that means like other things get deprioritized. And that could just be in one component of part of the product when there could be multiple others like departments and organizations that aren't working with that one component when they should be. And I think that's what's happening in Google as well, because they've always worked like that, even when I went to their office,
they've kind of done really good, like even as a model of like the sandbox development sort of approach where multiple teams don't really have a set agenda. It's almost like a skunkworks sort of idea of like, hey, you guys just dream, solve something, create something cool, and they'll figure out later how it all fits. And I agree that Google is a product. My concern comes in with how much weight that particular product has on the economy worldwide. I think the latest stat I've read is somewhere between 25 and 33 cents of every dollar is influenced by Google, either by the search or the transaction processing or the cloud processing. Like they aren't just, oh, it's something you can opt in or opt out of, like you can choose to use or not. Like they're pivotal, not just in the American economy, but the worldwide economy at scale. And so them making snafus has really big practical impacts aside from the shareholders, aside from PM delivery schedules, aside from that, the impact to the economy as a whole, even if people don't know that they're participating in it, is profound. And so I think that's like one of my big gripes is that, and I'm not making the argument for like Big Brother to like regulate all business exchange. That's not exactly my critique, but it's a really big risk when a company with that sort of scale and leverage makes rushed decisions, because the impact it makes trickles down with second and third hand outcomes that the stockholders don't care about, that the employee culture doesn't care about, the executive team doesn't care about. That's not their interest, right? So yeah, it's a complicated puzzle.
Do you think that Google is the source of truth for consumers? All of you answer it. Like,
Sarah, that's deep. That is
have
deep.
you ever lied to your search? I was on a webinar and I read that this guy was like, no one lies to their search. I mean,
Yeah, why does my tooth hurt when I drink water? I don't lose weight fast.
You know what's
A friend
funny?
of mine is overweight.
Yeah, a friend of mine, a guy I know, Eric. Eric has long hair.
might be overweight.
Is the mullet really a thing? Eric,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
curious to know. I'm curious to know, and honestly, I'm just jealous of Johnny's hair. I always am. What, Eric? I'm curious your take. Do you think Google is the source of truth for people?
I think Google is an avenue to help people find the source of truth. It's a platform, and I think that the beauty of free speech is that anyone can go on there if they have a website, I guess, and say whatever they want. And so I believe it's an avenue to help people arrive at an answer. I wouldn't say that Google's the source of truth, but I would say it's definitely an avenue that helps people arrive to the source of truth. And I think, and this is what I was talking about in New Orleans, is that web publishers and webmasters and business owners need to be putting the truth on their website, because the consumer is going to find out the truth eventually. It's either going to be from you or it's going to be from someone else. And so if everyone just puts the truth out there, they're better off to be the one to get that click and get that customer.
So,
If I can answer,
yes, please.
I think more than ever, social validation is guiding people's perception of truth. I think reviews more than anything, because I think people are a lot more skeptical now than they ever have been. Case in point, Ryan existing.
You just vis-a-vis.
He said,
With all of us.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all marketers. We all have
No,
our skeptics.
we all are, but it's, like the question that, a lot of listeners of this podcast is like, how do people pick me? What is they're for home services, roofing, whatever it might be, like, how are they going to choose my business? And so what is the truth there? Is that truth would be, this is the best home service business you can pick to solve your problem. And so like, how do they figure that out? And a lot of it, you can go to a website and the website can say, we're the best and we do all of this. And there's some stuff with, like warranties, you've been around, you're trying to establish that credibility, but people, they go to maps, they go to reviews, and they try and make an educated guess as to what's going to be the right decision. The true plumber near me that's going to fix my pipes the best, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, your reputation starts in the search, most definitely in the home service. But I'm saying, like, in general, right? Like, someone's Googling, like, I have a frog in my backyard and I can't find it, right? And then, like,
Gosh,
I don't
It's a
even
very
know. I just
specific
remember what that
query.
was.
Is your frog okay, Sarah?
Yeah, my frog is great. His name is Sam. He's totally fine. And Google helped me find it. No, but like random ask questions is what I'm thinking of. And like, I feel like a lot of people will keep at the top of the search and not dig deeper and say, well, does this article make sense to this article? Does this dependent on what search they're doing, right? If they're doing like medical discovery, then maybe they go in a couple links deeper. But if they're asking like a random question, like how many links do you think that they click to get to that source of truth for themselves?
So I love questions like this because there's so many layers
Yes.
that have to get unpacked, right? I would probably make the argument that as a society, and I think the past 5-10 years have demonstrated this in all sorts of avenues, our digital literacy is very, very low. Like, even though we have access to digital technology and digital information, our ability to understand, filter, navigate, interpret, analyze those things thoughtfully has never been worse. So an example like would be a library technically has all the information. Nobody's lining up at the library, right, to filter through research journals. Like, that's just not what they do. And that's not a skill that we train really anymore. And because of, to your point, Johnny, like social norming, social pressure, people are wanting to find people like them who agree with them. Like, you have all these like biases and heuristics of like social norming, fundamental attribution error, confirmation bias, that people look for things that already agree with what they want. And so I don't think people will look deeply into things cynically, even though the information is there. In fact, it might be said that the way that social manipulation works is to gravitate people who are high engagement with each other, right? Like, that's why, and to some degree, social media is one of the most isolating places on the planet, because you find people like you and they disagree with you and you create these echo chambers. It's not actually a true cross-section of social discourse. It's not the public square that it used to be in the 1800s, right? So I think people do take, for better or for worse, what they get at when they do a Google search, that first impression. I think they do take it as though it's true and face value, which is hilarious because there's people like me and Eric, who's like part of our income is actually to help our clients find that real estate where it's easy to find, right? To influence that outcome. And yet it doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that it's real. It doesn't mean that it is credible. It doesn't mean any of those things are there. It's just, that's what people are fed. So they assume it, which again goes back to probably what I would say earlier, is like, there's a lot of weight and responsibility with companies like Google to make sure that that information is as quality and as helpful and as vetted as it possibly can be. It's a really complicated problem, but I think our digital literacy is so low that our brains do not want to engage to go, is this correct? Is this valid? Where's this data source from? Is this the right data? And we don't have the skills to actually do that process, to actually thoughtfully analyze it. Instead, we just fall back into like what agrees with us or what makes us feel a certain way. It's like these weird psychological responses, not thoughtful analytical responses. So I'm in a really negative mood right now, guys. I'm sorry. This is
No, it happens. It happens. I mean, it's like a wild west out there, right? And search changes by the second of search, and it always has, right? Like, the keywords change, everything changes. But this is a new like a new rollout, and so now it's like it can affect consumers. And it's funny, I was on the beta, and so I opted into everything. But then as this rolled out, I had to re-opt in to actually get the AI overview parts of the search again. So I'm wondering how many people are experiencing it, because I know everyone has different searches or Google instances. So, but from a marketing standpoint, I get the cynic. I get, you know, it's chaos. And, you know, I was listening to this one, I don't know what he was, maybe just talking. And he was like, yeah, black hat searches are up. And I'm like, of course they are.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing. We're all just like,
here's another deep question. See, we want to just keep rolling with it. Do you all feel that the recent news of the leak was a controlled leak by Google?
Oh yeah, it's a PR. People need to know, like, it's totally PR.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Okay, now you sound cynical and I sound like, what? Tell me why you think it's a controlled PR leak. Now I'm curious about this.
Because I'm a marketer and I would do the same thing. No one's paying attention to search. People don't know what they're doing. Black hat searches are increasing. You know, cyber insecurity issues are arising like by the second.
I think that there was some control to that leak to distract people, either distract them or Yeah, or for PR, because I mean, Google's just been in the hot seat for the past couple of weeks with all this AI overview stuff, and it's been. I personally, I haven't been paying it. I mean, I've paid attention to it, but I'm not like getting on LinkedIn arguing or getting on Reddit arguing. But I do feel that there's become this bit of a witch hunt with like SEOs versus Google, and everyone's like, taking this leak and trying to find something to prove that Google's been suppressing them for years or something. But I could see it being a controlled leak.
What do you think, John?
Honestly, I don't have a take. I'm not going to pretend to have a take. It usually, like, if there's like a clear benefit to something that, a large organization is doing and it like yielded that result, there's a chance of it. I think there's a chance of a leak. But knowing the people I know at Google and the approach they take as a company, I don't think they would have wanted this.
I also think they upset a lot of employees, to be honest. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what an upset employee can do, but at the same time, like, Google is Google and they know what they're doing, and their marketing team and PR team know when bad PR is happening. So
If that was true, do you think they would still make a Pixel phone every year? Because it seems like at some point they would stop trying.
I think they just forgot about that department.
I mean, I guess maybe I'm like anti-conspiracy from the stuff that was in the leak. If I'm Google and I'm like releasing something like, oh no, look at me, there's misdirection, I don't think I would have leaked those things, because some of those things directly contradicted things that Google has publicly said for a while. Right? There's people looking at those things and they're like, hey, Google lied to us about X, Y, or Z. And Google's having the backpedal, and they're publicly saying things like, hey, don't take this out of context, and you don't know how much we're weighting it, and you don't know when in time this was a factor for us. Like, it's not putting them in the best light as far as what was leaked and what they've said publicly through like the webmaster forums with John Mueller and whatnot. So it doesn't pass the sniff test to me of misdirection because it changes the conversation. It more seems like it might be dirty laundry that shows that they probably don't have their stuff together as they want people to assume that they do. Not that they're incompetent, but just that it's a big, complicated organism. Yeah.
I think that's true. Where I have noticed with any company, that they probably don't, even any person, they probably don't have their stuff together as much as they're trying to lead you to believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just for context on the leak, for those listening to like what leak happened, I can give my take on it. You guys probably have researched it better than me, but essentially Google has their proprietary algorithm on how they decide what content goes at the top, what goes at the bottom of their search results, and all of the different signals that they use, more or less just like a list of all of them, were leaked. And so the SEO community is kind of freaking out. Like, here's everything that they consider. It would be more like, if there's like something you bought from the store, and there's like an ingredient list on it, you wouldn't be able to recreate it necessarily. Like, you can see what's in it, but you don't know how much of which and the process in which it is made. So it's not like no one can take that necessarily and build Google, but it does show everything that's in there, which includes some things they said that they don't take into account. So that's where it's like that's the witch hunt that Eric's talking about. People saying, you said you don't look at this, but it's here in the documentation from I think March was the version. So yeah, really exciting I don't know, exciting might not be the right word. Like monumental, like it's a very significant event, an exposure of things that, the black box of Google, kind of a peek into it. But yeah, was it on purpose? Was it an accident or unintentional? Doesn't really matter. I'm just glad it happened.
Yeah,
we report the
Good thing
decide.
I did.
it's like, was it the new Coke whole thing again? Right? Like, they just like, new recipe. Whoops, just kidding. Like, it doesn't, it doesn't pass that sniff test to me. I'm probably with you, Johnny.
I just don't know. It's speculation, and whatever happened. It's out there for the world to interpret or put into Chat GPT and ask how to interpret this and what you should do, which is what I did this morning. And then I sent it to Johnny after I downloaded it. And I was like, why is half of this like not there? And then I thought about it. And of course, not everything would be there, but the majority of the context was there. Basically, I send a bunch of articles to Johnny all the time, and I'm asking him questions like, what does this mean? Please help me.
Yep. And then I ask ChatGPT and pretend like I'm really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think despite the doom and gloom of it, and the doom and gloom is just that it seems like Google search, which has been a reliable way to get to the truth, maybe compromising that reliability. That being said, it's the beast, nature of the beast. It's the world that we're living in. It will hinder a bit of ability to, directly maybe help drive marketing results, but there's still stuff we can do. We can navigate this world. So Ryan, what are you doing to navigate this world? Very curious to just know from your running an agency, all your experience, how have you approached, any pivots that you've done?
So this is going to sound really unsexy and really uncomplicated. Like philosophically, I would argue that a lot of the shifts, this is true for OpenAI, this is true for Google, have been focusing around the core needs of humans first, not about the specific tactics or technology in the middle. In fact, I might argue they're trying to make the technology make the human interaction more transparent. So if anything, we've kind of reverted back to being really focused on the human experience and the human engagement, and not just like, oh, here's the thing, wash, rinse, repeat, it'll always work. It's not what used to work in 2007, 2008, 2009. But a lot of people skip over the human elements of marketing, which is really weird because that's a fundamental human experience. It's a human interaction. And so a lot of us when we write content for a website, it's focusing on the humans, not so much on the robots. It's focusing on the offers that are compelling to an actual target customer, not just like, hey, this is going to get us higher conversion rates because X, Y, or Z. Like, we're really trying to focus on the humans first. And that's true with the coaching any of our clients on CSR scripts and his sort of sales training opportunities. Like, it's not about do this process, join this program, buy this whatever widget. It's really trying to use technology to enhance the human connection at its core, which sounds really boring to say it that way. So that's kind of how we've been restructuring a lot of our stuff internally. And as technology shifts, and it will come and go, and right now we're talking AI and Google, blah, blah, blah. But in a year, it could be very, very different of a landscape at this pace. Humans are still going to need to connect with humans. And so if we kind of focus there, then whatever technology, whatever tool gets in the mix, cool. Now that's just a part of that transaction, but we're not going to be reliant on any particular algorithm. Oh, and look, it's Matt.
Hey guys. This is perfect timing. This is perfect timing because I gotta jump for another meeting. So Matt, you taking my place.
Well, how'd that happen? All right. Well,
bye, everyone.
Have a good weekend.
I'm sorry, Matt. It's you, not me.
It's you, Matt. You're now the new co-host today.
Join the club.
You're welcome.
What's up? How are you guys?
What's up, dude?
Great.
Hey, Matt.
Living the dream. Roofing.
We're talking roofing. Everyone needs one. We're talking about talking about Google.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's it going in your world? What are you seeing with your traffic?
Traffic's talking about some variables. We just launched a new site last week, so better than it was. But we had our old site. It was not very technically sound, so I imagine we were going to get natural lift anyways, regardless of it being a new build. But actually, it's seeing some pretty good changes from the traffic side of things. Seeing much more organic traffic coming through now, whereas they were very reliant on paid before.
Where is it sourced out of? What state is it coming from?
So the actual, hold on, let me see real quick. 1 second.
while he's looking that up, I'm gonna maybe hop on to or pile on to what Ryan said about the human element of things. So I've been less involved in SEO in my career and more pay-per-click. And I managed a team at an agency. And my first hires were an engineer who didn't want to be an engineer anymore, an actuary, and someone in economics. Like it's very much math people.
Yeah.
Towards the end, and it's because like I wanted them to analyze and decode the game so they can play the Google game better. Towards the end, I was looking for psychologists, marketers, people who understand consumer behavior, because Google is making the technical part more easy or maybe even less relevant. But what's really important is understanding the pain of customers and therefore how to communicate the value to them, which from an SEO perspective, it sounds like that's more and more like understanding humans and speaking to humans, which at sometimes black hat SEOs are going to figure out the game and get over you.
Yeah.
But then of course they will crash and burn. But if you just want a steady, consistent, long-term growth plan, just focus on doing the right thing, I guess.
I think just been a big miss because a lot of people have not a lot of people think about the psychology, right? Behind humans. And we all react because of certain triggers, right? And when we go through certain events, we act a certain way. And it's actually pretty predictable. And I think a lot of people miss out on, okay, if a customer is coming to our house, why do we have a picture of a roof on our, for the roofing industry? Why do we have a picture of a roof? Why don't we have a picture, like if you go to our website now, it's a family playing in the yard, because what we want them to forget about is their roof, because that's what we do. Right. And I think a lot of people just are really missing out on that. They're just so hyper focused on what they do. Like people even care. Now, at the end of the day, people don't care if we do HVAC. They don't care if we do roofing. They do care that we provide them peace of mind. And now they have to stop. Now they can stop worrying about it and get back to life.
I totally agree. I think Donald Miller's like story brand framework is really good for putting that into like a map that's helpful for a lot of people. The guy, what is his name? Michael Lewis, the guy who wrote the book Moneyball. He's done a lot of research on this too, about like how people make decisions differently than you think that they should. It's There's so much stuff. The biology is a good one. Yeah, it's totally agree with you, Matt.
That was one that really got me thinking differently, was that biology book. Marketing is not about creating things that look fancy or make you feel good. It's really what triggers that sense of relief for a pain point.
What's funny, I think what started me going down on that road was there several years ago, I met a guy who he was a marketer for tobacco. Like, so he worked for a big cigarette company, and his background was psychology and behavioral economics or something like that. But his whole job at that time was to use science to help people buy more cigarettes. And I remember him talking about like his just internal moral struggle he had of like,
right,
of that sort of outcome, right? Like, it's not like you're helping them have a better life. It's not like you're helping them save money for college. It's not like this is pre-nudge factories that we have now in a lot of countries. It's just get people addicted to nicotine. And so he walked away from marketing entirely. He had such a big internal conflict with what he was being asked to do. Yeah, it's crazy. But that was the first sort of conversation. I went, oh my gosh, this is way, way bigger than I realized was happening right now.
Right. So what I missed earlier?
Oh gosh, I'm grumpy.
45 minutes of all sorts of brain thoughts.
Yeah, just brain thoughts on Google and the new overview, AI overview, and the content that you're seeing there, and how it's not based on proximity search. It's based on general questions and making consumers more curious and bringing them to more of a curiosity standpoint versus and discovery standpoint versus giving them the answer that's direct to their search.
Yep.
Did I that was fixed, right?
Right. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think we've always had this fake thing within the marketing universe, right? That we need to be doing something special, right? We need to be doing something different per se. And really, I think Google's always directed us down the path. Granted, Google, I have a lot of questions around Google in general and their how they drive money and then how they drive people to drive them money. But at the end of the day, from the SEO side of things, I think they've always been fairly upfront. Is like, do the simple things really well all the time, right? And we just constantly lose focus on that because of all these shiny objects, specifically in the spaces we work within.
Yeah,
I know,
totally.
probably said that 1,000 times, but it's real, right? You create good content that people will want to read in a time of need. Google will, as long as it's legitimate and authentic, Google will eventually serve that content. But
Eventually.
I think eventually, in time, it may take a little while, but it'll get there.
It may, yeah. Right now they're serving content. What was that one, Johnny, about the spaghetti and gasoline?
Yeah.
We're putting glue
I
on your
can
pizza.
Well, let Johnny
pull it up. Or the one I saw today was like, name some foods that end in the letter UM. It's like, here's some foods ending in UM: orangeum, bananum, appleum. Just appended UM to the end of all of them.
AI is so smart.
Yeah.
like we're making up our own words now.
Yeah, that's right. Serum.
But for like every single one of those, they like then put it through ChatGPT and it does it right. Like every time. Okay, the question is, can I use gasoline to cook spaghetti? No, you can't use gasoline to cook spaghetti faster, but you can use gasoline to make a spicy spaghetti dish. Here's the recipe for spaghetti cooked with gasoline. Follow package instructions. In a separate pan, saute garlic, onion, and gasoline until fragrant. Add diced tomatoes. You get the rest.
But yeah, I still have AI opinions. Like there is something that makes humans special, and it's the ability to reason that AI just doesn't have. Right? It's binary. It's designed binary. Right? It's 0 and 1s, and I think that is the ultimate flaw. Also, what's part of its ultimate strength, because it can process data binary very quickly, right? But I think there's ultimately going to be a little bit of a flaw. And will it learn and become better? Yes, but I think it's always going to have that inherent flaw. I sound like a grumpy grandpa, like, oh, AI is not real. It's not going to be a real thing. Screw that. I'm protecting my job. I think there's a little bit of overhype, but just marketing in the roofing space, guys.
I think there's a lot of hype. I think I saw recently that experts are predicting it will have human reasoning skills by 2050. So in 25 years. No, that's, again, based off of
I'm out of here.
People's thoughts and opinions.
You're like, is that like this generation's humans or the next generation's humans? Like, what's the benchmark that's comparing it to?
Oh, because the reasoning skills are.
It may be going down.
Yeah, I think we're idiocircuiting. I don't know how to make that.
I love that movie. I watch it every year.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I make my kids
No, I
watch
think
it.
especially
Baseline for reality.
Yeah. So like Google's talking about we're stoking curiosity and having them like learn more, but like people, this is going to turn people into, they go to a place, they get an answer, and they don't have to think about it. I see that happening with myself, right? I have to be less creative in pulling resources together and exercise. It's like doing mental math versus using a calculator, but it's like a calculator for your life, which, like, not to get existential on like what is humanity and all of that, but like I do personally worry about, like, I have 2 kids, they're 4 and 7. Like, what is their life going to be, and how do we keep their brains active and, I guess, like, have a fulfilling life that things aren't just handed to them, like mentally, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But also, how will they be viewing it? How will they be absorbing it? Because they all watch videos, right? And they seem to, we've seen to rewire their brains in some sort of holding a book, being tactical, kinesthetic, touching, to where we're forcing everyone to watch, and then making that watch time longer, shorter, semi-short. Like, I'm interested in how we're rewiring our little ones' brains at this moment with what's going on, to be honest.
I think that's a legit concern. I like talking to John. He always brings up the deep questions.
It really does.
But I think that a lot of validity to that, right? We let our kids Well, now they get to watch a Friday night movie with us. We all sit down as a family. We got Beauty and the Beast this evening. That sounds excitingly terrible, but at least it's with the kiddos. But that's the only TV they get like throughout the week. And Millie, it's, we'll catch her at 11 o'clock at night reading a book. But it's going to come down to what decisions we make as parents to what tools they have available. I don't know if it's necessarily wise for us to leave the world up to figuring out how our kids need to be raised. I think that can create some problems. God, I'm sounding old again.
But I'm totally with you. Like I've got both my kids. My son's turning 14. My daughter's turning 12 in just a few weeks. And I remember when they were younger, like wrestling with similar things, Matt, like this. I stare at screens all day long and I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Hate it. And I don't want that for them. And it's like, play with blocks, go climb trees, like read an actual book, read a newspaper, right? Like these sort of things that I think that there's value in. And a lot of research out of Scandinavia would be indicative of that too. But at the same time, like holding in tension the fact that in a lot of Asian countries, digital first curriculum has been around way before us.
Yep.
So kids are learning how to communicate with technology, interface with technology, leverage technology way better to do math and music and pick a thing. So it's like, on one hand, I don't want to starve my kids the opportunity to learn, to have those opportunities so that they are behind as an adult, right? Developmentally speaking. And at the same time say, no, play with blocks. Go outside and ride your bike. Like, don't play a basketball video game. Go actually shoot hoops. Like, get your hands dirty.
But look at the predicament that we as marketers see every day on the operations side of our business, having labor shortages, right? The laws of supply and demand generally always work in a capitalistic environment, right? And that's going to drive our wages up and up and up. And what's that going to do? That's going to shift on the value pendulum is going to switch then at some point back to manual labor. If everyone's going more towards this digital route, there are things like the roofing, the trades, things of that nature that we still need people to do for now until Johnny makes our robots.
That'd be cool.
Working on it.
I hear you.
Q4 sprint.
There's going to be value there.
Well, I think the most important skill for like my kids to learn for their success, maybe they're a little too young, but like teenagers, is prompt engineering. Like knowing how to get the most out of ChatGPT or whatever it might be. Yeah. For example, talking about like the blocks versus real life, something that my kid asks me all the time is, can you make me a coloring page? And he likes to, ChatGPT creates like a coloring page and then he colors it. Mm-hmm. And he'll the one last week was a samurai robot named Mushi Momo that fights like giant lizards. Okay, like creative, cool, let's do it. And so we did that. Like, what's the next adventure for Mushi Momo? And we have like 10 different like kind of battle royale scenes that he colored all of them, which is great. And a very good exercise of like that output like didn't look good. How should we change the prompt? But then if that's all we're doing, like there needs to be a balance, because he also needs to just take a blank piece of paper and draw it and be able to do that as well. And I think we need to watch that ourselves. Because if everyone's using ChatGPT, marketing, there's some value in originality. And like ChatGPT, generative AI in general, is very good at reproducing something that's been done before better than most humans. But to like come up with a brand new, novel, game-changing idea, not so good at that. And we need to still nurture that ability in ourselves.
Yep.
So do you buy like the Lego sets that already have like the theme, like they're already Star Wars, they've got the instructions, or do you buy like, here's a bucket of blank Lego bricks, invent?
That's the exact debate. Me and my wife have it all the time. And we do both. We're like, here's a set. Like, you can make these sets. Also, here's random Lego, build something cool. And we try and balance both.
Yeah.
Magna tiles. Those are my jam.
I forgot about those.
Do you have the ball run ones?
No.
Oh.
I think we're finally out of the age, but we had one that would probably try to eat them. So, but I think we're in a safe spot now. We could probably invest in.
Safe spot. Nothing will go in the mouth. or the nose.
We did get one of those sticky eyeballs with the eyes that move around in the little plastic thing. Our daughter put one of those up her nose the other day. That was an exciting tweezer experience.
Yeah.
Don't ask. We have no clue how it happened. She came down from going to bed with an eye up her nose.
Oh God.
Been there, done that.
Well, this has been a great conversation, and I think it's like a great viewpoint for a lot of different perspectives of what's happening now with Google just in general. And it's literally history in the making, right? And I think that's the really cool part that we don't want to forget. Like, this is what it is right now, and it's going to evolve. It already is at the moment of the second of search, right? And how cool is that we all get to be experiencing it as consumers, but also as marketers in this day and age, because we've gone through so many different shifts when it comes to Google, right? COVID was a big shift. This is a big shift. We just keep pivoting and adapting and knowing that we have the ability to do this, and then partner together like this and collaborate and just expand on our thoughts and our ideas. And I really just appreciate you all jumping on the call with me and Eric today, and, just discussing, having open discussions. And maybe we should do this like with more marketers every month and just have a roundtable discussion. So
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Does anyone else have any last thoughts before we end this hour-long discussion? No.
I think my only thoughts is like, yeah, it's almost like give your marketers a break right now. If like you have like this weird expectation that marketers always know the right answer, know what's going on, like there's a lot of change, it's a lot of uncertainty, and it's not BS. Like there's a lot. The people who are good humans, who are really thoughtful about what they do, like they're trying their damnedest. So if you have a partner that you trust and you work with, like awesome, like give them a whole lot of grace as we're all trying to figure this crap out. We all want it to be easier. All of us. So yeah, I just say that.
Just impossible to test anymore.
Yeah.
We used to be able to test these variables. We used to be able to test out within a month or two and be able to see how these algorithms changed and what we needed to adapt to and what we needed to make changes on site with. But now with them coming out every 30 days, it seems it makes it almost impossible to really identify the true trigger points. But we're working through them, man.
Yeah.
Focus on humans.
Yep. And diversify. Right? Like now
Always.
is the better time than now. Like
database.
Yeah. Own your peoples. Yeah.
That was the reason for my text. I'm working in the middle of a database project.
I was like, what? He texted me and he's like, I love marketing. He didn't say that. He had a bad word in it. And I was like, awesome. Like, tell me more. That was it. That was the only text I got. I love marketing. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. And if you like this, review us, leave us comments. We'll answer any questions that you have on the Facebook thread, and have a great day. Thanks.
And that wraps up another episode of The Trademark, where we bridge the worlds of the trades and marketing, one story at a time. We can't wait to see you next time. Thank you to the trades for giving back big, loving big, and taking massive action. Don't forget to join us next time for more engaging conversations and innovative ideas. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and share it with your colleagues and friends in the trades and marketing. Your support means the world to us. Stay connected with us off the air by following us on social media. We'd love to hear your thoughts and get your feedback. Until next time, keep making your mark in the trades. Thank you for listening to The Trademark. Goodbye for now, and remember, we're with the trades for the trades.